My strategy is a boring strategy that works.
Phase 1, do something. Phase 2, do something a little better than that. Phase 3, do something a little bit better than that.
People are too afraid to get on video and to get their thoughts out. And this isn't a group that you own. This is just someone else's Facebook group.
You're listening to the Roofing Success Podcast, a show created to inspire roofing contractors to achieve optimal success in their roofing businesses. I'm the host, Jim Aline, the co-author of the books Internet Marketing for Roofing Contractors and The Best Known Roofer. I'm also the co-founder of Roofer Marketers, the leading digital marketing agency for the roofing industry. On each episode, I sit down with industry leaders to talk about their processes, the lessons they've learned, and how to find success in roofing. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. You see that button on your screen? It might say subscribe, it might say comment, it might say like, it might say leave a review. Push those buttons. Write reviews, write comments. Let's have the conversation. It helps to keep the podcast going. You know, we're in a great spot now. We're charting on iTunes consistently, which is crazy to me. But so thank you guys for doing that. Thank you for hitting those buttons to those that you have. Today we got Dante with us from RoofCON. How you doing, man?
Good, man. I'm excited to be here, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. I mean, everyone sees you around, maybe the Facebook group, or maybe they'll see you running around RoofCON like crazy, making sure everything's getting done, making it happen. But they don't get to see you in person a lot. And I guess this isn't in person, but at least a little bit more in depth of, get to know you a little more.
Yeah, I've been trying to take more opportunities like this because, to your point, I'm always running around. I feel like I'm a behind the scenes person. I'm not really the, I'm not trying to be a roofing influencer or any of those things, right? So I take pride in making sure that things run smoothly in the background.
Yeah. Well, let's get people to know you a little bit more. I like to always ask people how they got into roofing. And so how did you get into this business?
Yeah, so I actually worked as a marketing director for a telecommunications company. And in 2020, January, the company that I was working for got bought out, and the new company came in with their marketing team. And I came in on a Friday, and they said, the phone was ringing when I walked in the door. And I walked in, took the phone call. They said, "Hey, thank you so much for your service. Today's your last day." So I immediately went home and made a post on Facebook that said, "Hey, I'm a free agent, ready to go wherever." And funny enough, my kids are both adopted. We adopted through this agency here in town, and the owner of the agency was friends with Hunter Ballou, who owns RoofCON and Cornerstone Construction, and she tagged him because he was on the board of directors there, and said, "Hey, Diego's marketing guy. You should connect with him." And so the next day, I was in Travelers Rest, South Carolina, about an hour away from where I lived, meeting up with Hunter. And from there, we linked up about coming in, working at Cornerstone. And I came in, sold roofs straight from the beginning. We actually kind of got lucky. We had a little bit of a hailstorm here in Greenville right when I started. We had a tornado that hit Seneca that was pretty devastating because it was in my community where I lived. And I was able to really pick up some steam right from the beginning. But you know how sales is, you sell the stuff, and I might have 20 contracts that I just sold, but it took me 8 weeks to get paid on some of that stuff. And so my family was looking at our savings starting to go down, and they were like, "Hey, what's happening?" I was like, "Oh, I've got all these contracts coming in that I've already sold." And right around that time was right when COVID hit also. And so with that, I didn't know what was going to happen. I don't think anyone really knew. And so I said to Hunter, "Hey, while we're waiting on these to come in, if you want me to come in, maybe sell some sponsorships for this RoofCON thing, let's make it happen." that was, he had just had the first one, 50 people there. And right when all that started, I started hitting up the phones, trying to get some RoofCon vendors, and kind of stuck with RoofCon for a while. But that's really how I got into roofing and RoofCon. And I did roofing about that whole first year. I did roofing sales, and then actually took a little bit of a break from RoofCon to go run a company for a little while, and now I'm back here. So I was kind of like, I gave you a 4-year breakdown in about 2 minutes there.
In about 2 minutes there, right? So started in roofing sales, like the door to door running leads. How were you doing? What were you doing there?
So I realized right from the beginning that I did not want to be knocking doors. And I did it. I did it for the first 90 days, but I was like, man, there's got to be a better way, because I just hate doing this, right? And I know some people are great at it. I admire, some of the people that trained me at Cornerstone. They were really great. I see some of these other people in the industry, the Deshaun Bryants of the industry, and they're crushing it with door to door. But I just felt like maybe I had other skill sets there that maybe I could take advantage of, just being a marketing guy. And so first thing I did was I made a list of realtors, and I started taking realtors out to lunch, trying to get referrals from them. Excuse me. And I started trying to get just referrals from as many people as I could. And really, after about 90 days or so, right when I started really also focusing on the RoofCon stuff, those referrals really started paying out and started bringing me more referrals. And so we got hit with those storms, and most of that was from referrals and not from door knocking.
So yeah, I think, especially when people are getting started out, right? I mean, the fastest way to a signed contract is door to door, right? To me, that's the fastest way, but it's an uncomfortable way, right? It is an extremely uncomfortable way. I mean, I started doing door to door when I was 12 years old selling candy, and like that, it is an uncomfortable experience. I've done other door to door and real estate and things like that, but it takes time to build up referral networks, right? And I think that a lot of people, they want to cheat it, right? They don't want to just like take the time. It sounds like you built a list, you went after it. It's kind of a Chet Holmes Dream 100 strategy. Have you heard of that? The ultimate sales
I've
machine?
had my own Dream 100 strategy of my own, so I'm guessing something very similar to that.
Yeah, so it's you pick 100 potential good referral partners, and you go out and you try to develop relationships with them. You try to make them know, like, and trust you, right? So that they send you or they start to send you those referrals. We've had Matt Danskin on the show, who does a good job of that on the insurance agent side. John Senek has an amazing referral program that he's implemented over the years. I've had some other great contractors on here that do amazing things with their referral networks, joining BNI groups, things like that. But it all kind of gets down to that, really, they're kind of, you're building your people, your tribe, your community, right? And that's where a lot of it, like that, that's really where a lot of these referrals come from. But that takes time and effort. And I think a lot of people fail on the effort, or they don't understand the effort. Let's talk a little bit about the effort of building that type of a referral network. How many phone calls were you making a day? How many people were you taking to lunch? What were you doing? And then how many did kind of became referral partners for you?
Yeah, I definitely think you need to have. So I like how Alex from Rosie, I like following him. He says that these really successful companies, they have more strategies and they do more of it, right? So they go wider and taller, right? So yes, so to your point, like having a really solid strategy for referrals, figuring out what works, and then doing way more of it, right?
Way more.
So
right.
for me, I really just found, I would say, I was going out and probably 3 times a week taking realtors out to lunch. But the ones when I found, hey, this guy's going to send me more referrals, I would I'm making this guy my best friend, right?
Yeah.
and just do more with that one person and giving them more, creating a win-win opportunity for them. I think a lot of the times we just go to these potential referral partners and we want them to give us stuff, and we don't realize that it's like an ATM. We have to deposit into it before we can withdraw from it. And so one of the big things for me was I would break it down for them so that they understand, hey, I'm going to create a win-win for everyone involved. What we're going to do is, when you're going through and you're about to sell a house, the last thing you want is to be able to, you get down to the end and you run this inspection, you realize you got to fix something on the roof, and now we're, up against, time trying to get stuff fixed. I was like, okay, we're not going to do any of that. What we're going to do is we're going to run the inspection beforehand. We're going to see what needs to happen. So I'll tell you from the beginning, hey, do we need to put a new roof on it? Do we need to do whatever? If we need to put a new roof on it and it's something that's related to a storm, we'll be able to get that done at the price of the deductible. And then if that happens, your customer wins because now they can list the house for higher. Yeah. You win because now when you sell the house for higher, you're able to get more commission out of it. The new homeowner wins because they just bought a house with a new roof. I win because I got a contract out of it. And most of the people aren't doing that. They're just saying, hey, if you run up against, a repair that you need done, just call me, right? And it's like, yeah, that's cool, but it's just, you're just fixing a small headache versus creating a win for me. And so when you break it down like that, now all of a sudden I break that down to a realtor, and the realtor's like, oh, I never had anyone explain it to me before like that. And now all of a sudden I got, 20 realtors sending me referrals where like I haven't even gotten on a roof in 6 months, but they're still sending me referrals.
It's a crazy thing when you show people what the win is for them, right? It's what's in it for me, right? That's what we're all in it. Like, everyone needs to know what's in it for them. But a successful business, roofing, solar, plumbing, software, whatever it is, that's what it is. It creates wins, right? That an event like RoofCON, you're creating wins for people, right? All of the things that you're doing, you're just creating wins. But boy, in those early days, right? You said that you came on board with Hunter right after right when he started RoofCON, right? Or after the first one where he had about 50 people there. I was at the next one.
Yeah, I came on board.
Yeah,
I came on board 2 months after the first one.
Okay. And so you probably sold us our booth for the second one, right? Like, it was, we were down there in Houston, with what, I can't remember how many people were there. Like, it was like right in the middle of COVID. It was crazy, right? Like,
yeah. So we did RoofCON 2 in Houston, Texas, and there was 881 tickets that went out.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, how many of those showed up, I don't know, but there was quite a few people there, right? So it was pretty packed especially for being in the middle of COVID, right? Yeah. And for being our second year, considering we had 50 people the year before.
For sure. And that, like, I want to tie that in, and where I'm going with this, it's like, when you're talking about building referral networks for your company or your brand, it's really, it's building your brand, right? Like, and there's kind of to the point of how many, you were going out there taking people to lunch, you were doing things. When you guys were starting and the push on RoofCON, it was like, man, you had to get the whole roofing industry to know that this existed. And you mentioned the Alex Hormozi thought there, and I've heard, Grant Cardone has the book on it, the 10X rule, right? It's a similar concept of you figure out the goal that you want to get to, you work backwards on the effort that you think it'll take, and then you do much more than that, right? And that ensures you, it gives you a much better chance of getting to that goal, right? But in the beginning, people have to hear about it for the first time. So, like, what are your thoughts on that for people in their marketing efforts, in their brand building efforts? What should they do, or what concepts should they follow? Frameworks can they follow that can help them get that loud initial push?
Right. So I'll tell you what I did. Now, whether this is going to work for everyone, I don't know. And I'll give you this caveat too. When I said I worked in a marketing company, or when I worked in marketing before, I came into it really knowing very little about marketing, and I self-taught myself a lot of stuff. So I feel like my approach is probably very, it's more of a guerrilla marketing than traditional marketing. I feel like I've been able to teach myself a lot of the traditional marketing over the last couple of years. But for me, it's funny. The first thing I did, like day one of working for Hunter doing RoofCon stuff, I said, all right, well, first thing that needs to happen, we need to sell some sponsorships, right? And so I was like, no one knows about us. We had a little small event. What can I start doing? I looked in the office. I had a box with like 50 t-shirts, and I said, hey, let me just put this out on the internet. I didn't even have any friends that were in the industry. I wasn't connected with people online, any of that stuff. So I posted in a rant, might have been like Level the Playing Field or one of the Facebook groups. I was like, hey, I got some RoofCon shirts. Who wants them, basically? And when you put out stuff for free, basically that was my first version of like a lead magnet, right?
Yeah.
And I put that out on the internet. I had probably like 5 people that said that they wanted a free t-shirt, the first one, right? But it was funny because like the first 5 people that said it was like Joe Hughes. I can tell you exactly who they were. It was Joe Hughes, Graham Desert, Chuck Toki, and Phil Sanov. There might have been a 5th one there. But like,
yeah, those are some names, Diego, like in the roofing industry, right? Like in the influencers.
That's what I'm saying. So I just put that out on the internet. I didn't know who these people were. I connected with them, and I basically shot them a Facebook message, and I was like, hey, can we get on a phone call and just talk about RoofCon? I'll send you the stuff, but if you wouldn't mind just giving me 5 minutes of your time just so I can talk to you about what we got going on. I just would love to be able to have you at our event. And so every one of them gave me their phone numbers. First person I called was Phil Sanov. He was Morgan & Morgan at the time. And I talked to Phil. I was like, hey, we got this event coming up, all this stuff. He was like, man, I love it. I was like, well, I'd love for you to be our, one of our platinum sponsors. You get a 20. I basically just pitched them right then and there. I was sitting at a gas station here in town. And he literally was like, dude, I love what you guys are doing. Where do I send the money, basically? And I was like, all right, well, we got a customer. I might have nothing else right now, but I got one client. And I love telling the story because up until this point, we had gotten a contract for the convention center, but we hadn't signed it yet because we didn't have anything. Yeah. And so I got back and I said, Hunter, we need to sign the contract now because I got us a vendor. We had our first vendor. But all that to say, like, I just put it out on the internet. There's going to be a few people at least that you may be able to, how do you translate that then into roofing, right? Put it out there in the internet to make your first initial push.
Shoot your shot.
Like, what can you do? Yeah. Maybe if you're a roofing contractor, it's, hey, I want to do some free roof tune-ups. And that's your first lead magnet. Hey, I want to do some free roof tune-ups. I'll come out, I'll caulk the pipe boots, and I'll fix any, we'll caulk any of the if you've got any leaking points or anything like that. And I'm going to do that for you guys for free. Just give me, a few minutes of your time where I can do that and I can tell you about my company. Something like that where you can get your first few customers that then can talk about you. You can start creating content. You can do all this stuff that you can't do unless, if I come out straight from the beginning trying to pitch you on stuff, it's not going to work, right? Especially when you're a brand new company. So the first push should be figure out what that lead magnet is. What's that thing that's going to get people to listen to you? And then use that to then build upon and use those people as leverage to be able to continue building your brand from that. But you need those first few customers and you need to be able to get them in with some sort of lead magnet or something that you're doing for them for free to be able to get them in the door.
That's great advice, and it's kind of, I mean, even what you did, you could do that on a referral partner level, like you kind of taking people to lunch. That's a lead, right? That's a lead magnet. Like, hey, I'll buy you lunch. That's a lead magnet. A homeowner, maybe a free roof tune-up. It could be a gutter cleaning. It could be just things that I'm thinking about off the top of my head, right? Things like that are like, hey, free gutter cleaning. While I'm up there, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to inspect your roof. And if there are the few things that need to be touched up, like you said, caulk some pipe, do this, do that, like, I'll take care of that while I'm here. That could lead to a Google review. That could lead to a referral. That could lead to a roof replacement while you're, you know what I mean? If you're up there, man, you guys are in trouble here. You got some stuff going on, right? Like, creating opportunities for yourself. And then the other part of it that I like that you said is use what you're currently doing as leverage for future things. I'm kind of paraphrasing that. While you are out at a job, and I don't know why it's so challenging, Diego, but boy, these things get heavy. And for those of you listening, I'm holding my cell phone. These things get real heavy when it's time to make a video for a lot of people, right? But if you could take that initial job, that initial someone, the every time that someone allows you to inspect their roof is an opportunity to create that leverage that you're talking about, right? So whether you find damage or not, whether the person needs a replacement or repair or not, it's an opportunity to have a conversation that could potentially that will lead you to being the expert. And like one of my mentors always says that, like, he frames it a little bit different way, but it's stage time is money time, right? But I equate that to the same thing on social media, right? When the person at the front of the room is the expert. And that concept carries over to social media. So when you're showing people that you are the expert, you're just building that brand value, building that trust, and building future referrals. What are some ways that people can build that leverage, I guess it's kind of like building a community, right?
I think you hit it on the head of people are too afraid to get on video and to get their thoughts out. And if you go through my Facebook, you'll see I don't know the exact number, but I'm going to guess somewhere around 500 or so live videos that I've done in the past, 5 years, to where as you do those things, it just becomes easier, right? It's just repetition. You learn to shoot the basketball, you're going to be able to make more, be able to score more the more that you practice it, right? Yeah. And so that's definitely one of the big things. It's practice, practice, practice. And then besides that, to your point, like building a community is huge. Yeah, the people need to see your face. The people need to hear you talking. That's how you build trust with people. But also, for me, in what we've done, a huge part of building your brand is building your community and building, your group of people that are your core people, right? So we've built this Facebook group now that's got 26,000 members or something like that, the roofing and solar community. And really that group was at 7,000 or so. Someone else started the group, we took it over, and from there we kind of went to the races of like, all right, how do we build this group? How do we make it our own? Having the banners in the group that showcase our event, so every time you go on it, you're going to see that RoofCon banner, and having live videos in there weekly, and doing announcements and asking questions. And truly and honestly, we never pitch in there. Like, it may seem like we'll put our banners up and we'll put all the stuff, but that's all branding, right? And I'm sure we can talk about the difference there between branding and lead generation. But for us, it's just an opportunity to brand, to be able to build a community and for us to be able to have our people in one place, right? We direct the conversation. There's different like inside jokes now that are just part of our group, and people know us. And it's so funny. We'll go to different conferences, ours and other people's, and people know us because we're just in the group and we're active in there, right? And now, how does that translate to a roofing contractor? Maybe you don't have a Facebook group. Maybe you do. A Facebook group is could be a huge asset to you as a roofing company. If you're able to, again, either start one, take over one, become an admin in a local group, any of those things to be able to leverage the group, that's a huge thing. But maybe not even that. Maybe just how do you brand yourself, again, as the neighborhood roofer? I know Joe Hughes says being 5 Mile famous, right? Becoming, yeah. Right. So becoming a person within your community that is the trusted person for the thing that you do is huge. And having that leverage of just being the guy, right? Either the guy in your Facebook group, the guy in your community, the guy in your local, your community Facebook page, your whatever it is, you become the guy for your thing. And, that's something that takes time for us. That took us, I really think now we're really getting it dialed down to where it's, to where we're really reaping the benefits of it now, to where we really like our RoofCon tickets are coming in like crazy now because people just know the event's coming up and they know they got to go to it. But even that first year, like we're talking about building a brand, we really couldn't have done all the stuff that we did if we didn't have our community. You talked about, hey, you went to that second one and we're at 881 people there. Like that happened because we had a community. We started building that community. We started building a name for ourselves. We started talking about the successes of Cornerstone Construction that we were, connected, that we're still connected with. We're at their building, but just, we started talking about all those things, building a brand for ourselves, building that community, and then the people know you as the go-to person, and that's where they go.
Yeah, and that's what it comes down to. And I love some ideas for Facebook groups, right? Like that's a great way to gather people. It's all about gathering people, right? Gathering people and getting in front of them, getting that attention. So a Facebook group would be a great place to gather people. Other ideas.
Let me say one thing on Facebook groups too, because here at Cornerstone, one of the things that we do is when part of the onboarding process is we add people, we give them a list of the Facebook groups that they need to join that are all the big community Facebook groups. And, people are always asking, hey, who is a roofing contractor that I should trust? All this stuff. The first person to go in there and comment, the first sales rep to go and comment, hey, I'm a roofing sales rep at this company. I'd love to come check it out. They send it in the Facebook, in their group chat, and then all the reps from the company go and comment that person's name. So all of a sudden now they're all in the Facebook group. They're getting 20, 30 comments saying this person's name. And this isn't a group that you own. This is just someone else's Facebook group.
The local community Facebook group, right? Like could be a small city. It could be all kinds of groups on Facebook. And that creates that. It's the psychology of it, right? It's the psychology of people going in there and commenting and saying, oh, this person. So you don't have to own the Facebook group, but you could be a part of it is what you're saying, right? And be in there. Communicate. Also share referrals in there. If someone's asking for a plumber, right? If you know a good plumber, now that plumber, next time someone's asked for a roofer in there, that plumber shoots back your name in that comment. So it's a very reciprocal thing that can happen and a natural thing.
And if you become the person in that group, now all of a sudden your opinion matters more, right?
Yes.
Because you're the person that they know.
So contribute.
I could get really there's a lot of Facebook group strategy that I feel like I could talk for a whole hour on Facebook group strategy, but I'm going to say one more thing that if you do choose to start a Facebook group, there's a lot of strategies. There's different programs that you can use to be able to gather data for your CRM. So let's just say, for example, I go start a group here in Greenville for let's just say local entrepreneurs, and I call it Greenville Entrepreneurs. And I set it up to where my questions are, hey, what's an email so that we can send you X, some sort of lead magnet, right?
Yep.
And there's different groups, or there's different software, like I think GroupKit is one of them, Group Funnels, where basically you can pull all that data, send it to your CRM. Now these people are in your CRM too. So you're able to, you have more data, you have people that you can sell to, all this stuff. And it may just be like, hey, you got 500 people, which I guess like when you're looking at groups, maybe you see that as a small group, but maybe you just gathered 400 names from doing something like that. Yeah. And it's people that you might have now leverage with, because it's like, hey, but they're all entrepreneurs and they're all connected. They all work somewhere. And if you're trying to get into commercial, that could be a huge thing that you could do too with Facebook groups.
Man, so let's think about that for like, because it comes down to your perfect customer, right? So if you want to be intentional about building a Facebook group, let's go down the rabbit hole, right? I think that the first thing that you want to do is be intentional about the group that you start. So if you're a residential roofing contractor, if I was intentional, I would maybe start a Facebook group, homeowners of city, right? Like homeowners of Plymouth, Minnesota, where I live, right? So homeowners of, and then I would start to invite people that I know in that area, in my local area. And like you said, with your customers, now you can have your customers join that group, recommend that they join that group, and you can recommend all of your reps and all of your team members join that group, and you just start to create this community there. But it can't be about you all the time. You have to be able, maybe local events you're posting in there. Local legislative changes that are happening around certain things, if anything that could affect or would be interesting to homeowners in that city, right? Now, on the commercial side, maybe it's commercial real estate group of city, state, or of local area. And now you have people who are interested in commercial real estate, who are building owners, who are property managers. And now you get that interaction there. Are we on the right track here, Diego?
I think that's 100% what the strategy needs to be. And, we have multiple Facebook groups here with on our team. So we've got obviously the roofing and solar community. We've got multiple local Facebook groups for different like buy, sell, trade, just community, just an upstate community group. There's stuff like that where it's like, yeah, we're trying to get these homeowners. And then we also have the local entrepreneurs page. So we're trying to get all these people, right? Like some of these we use for RoofCON, some of these we use for Cornerstone on the residential side, some of these we use for Cornerstone on the commercial side. But yeah, you're dead on with that. Figure out who your target audience is. Have a strategy. I think a lot of times we just throw stuff at the wall and just try to figure out what works. And I think you're way better off if you're coming in with hey, this is what I'm going to try to do. This is who I'm going to target, and go after those people. And then obviously like correct course when things don't work well, but have that strategy is key in trying to accomplish what we're trying to accomplish.
Okay. Let's talk about that strategy now. So for maybe step one in the strategy is to define your customer, your perfect customer, and create a group that they would like to join. That sounds interesting to them. Would that be a good step one?
Yeah.
All right. Now step two, you have to fill that group with content, I would assume, right? That would be attractive to those people. What would be a good strategy on that? How do you, because man, it's hard to think of a new content piece and it's hard to think about this stuff and create and do all that. So what would be some strategies around that?
My strategy is a boring strategy that works. Okay. What I started doing, and frankly, I'm at this point, I'm just giving you all my secrets, and it's whatever. It doesn't matter. So we started doing the first thing I do, again, with the strategy thing in mind, I make my top 100 list. I always have a top 100 list of people I want to create content with. Now, why do I want to create content with these people? Because I'm thinking of who are the strategic people that if I if I have these people on my team, I can't lose, right? So I bet you can find 100 people regardless of what you're doing. Jim, you are running a marketing agency. I know that you can think of 100 contractors that like, hey, if I could sell, or not even sell, if I could have these 100 people that could rave about me, then my business would just completely accelerate. Yep. And it's the same thing with RoofCon, with the Rise Above show. Who are the people that like, if I can create content with these people, that now all of a sudden these people are on my side and I don't even need to sell them. Like, I'm not trying to sell them anything. It's just, I need to be able to network with these people. And it's the same thing with roofing. When I was at the roofing company that I was running, I created a show that was called the Palmetto Brand Experience, and literally was so and this is what I'm saying, this is boring stuff, because one of the things I'm passionate about is brand. And so I was like, hey, I want to just talk to who are the people that are building cool brands in the Carolinas. That was what my thing was. And so I made my list of top 100 people that I thought had cool brands, and I started going after them. Hey, I love the brand that you have. I want to be able to talk to you about it. So I'd show up to their house with whatever, or their office, whatever, and I would interview them, and I would say, hey, talk to them about their brand. Never once talk about roofing. I never talked about it, but they knew me as the roofing guy, right? Like, because it's just Diego, he runs a roofing company, whatever. By the time we're done talking, it doesn't matter if they didn't know me before. It doesn't matter if they do business with me or not. Now I'm engraved in their head as the roofing guy. And now these top 100 people, when you get those top 100 people to know you as the roofing guy, the RoofCon guy, the whatever guy, you can't lose. And these people are the people that people are already going to for advice on what conferences should I go to? Who do I need to get my roof done with? Which marketing agency should I use? Whatever thing, right? So in my point of view, yes, content is important because obviously like you get people to look at it and stuff, but I don't care if I get 20 views on a podcast, because the most important thing that I got out of it was this new relationship with the person that I just created content with.
That's an amazing aspect of it. I started doing this back in it was probably about 2011, 12. I had a real estate brokerage, mortgage brokerages, and we started doing neighborhood video blogs. And the strategy behind it was we would interview like business owners and things like that in the community, in the local community, restaurants and, hair salons and things like that. And we just go around and spotlight these. There's one of them that I helped get started is it's still going on today. It's a Central Park Scoop out in Denver. It's still a viable one from my buddy Joe, who runs that one, and that's his. He's become the neighborhood expert. He's been a pillar in the community because of this, this video blog, and he just went out and just interviewed people in the neighborhood, or business owners and things like that were around the neighborhood. And then if there was an update on something that was happening in the neighborhood, he'd put out a blog about that. And so it's perfect. There's a phrase or a concept around this, and it's the most valuable real estate you can own is mental real estate.
Oh, I love that.
And so what you're talking about, it doesn't matter about how many viewers, how many people see the post. It's the mental real estate that you occupy now in that person's head that you did that content piece with.
And I think there's a second, this is more of a subliminal thing. Yeah. And I was talking about this with my friend Dave Carroll, that it also is just like being a good guy, right?
Yeah. Just
being a good person, because that comes across of, I think part of my the way just my brain works, and it's probably one of my flaws too, is that I just want to be friends with everyone. And so I think when I go into it also, I am genuinely trying to be friends with these people.
Yeah.
And it's just one of these things of like also being strategic about the people that you hang out with. Like, it's who do you want to hang out with? Do you want to hang out with, the same friends that you had in high school and that really aren't getting you anywhere in the life you're trying to lead? Or do you want to surround yourself with the successful people, right? Obviously, like, I know I'm putting a lot of thought into like a strategy behind it, but I think overall, it's just you are now surrounding yourself with the right people. And if you're the good dude who really is trying to help them benefit and not just trying to take away from it, like we had talked about earlier, it's going to work out still. You're going to be able to get stuff out of it, even if that's not the end goal with it is, you're going to create win-wins with these people. You're going to create new friends. You're going to create new connections. You're going to overall, it's a great strategy.
And to that, I want to add something to that in never going into this with the only intention of generating business, because boy, that people feel that, right? Like, if you actually go into this with an intention of helping and caring and providing value, that shows I like, just from doing the podcast here as an example of this type of effort, man, I've made some great friends through this podcast. Like, Adam Bensman was one of my first guests. He was like one of my first 3 or 4 guests on the podcast. We're great friends now. Like, it's, Dave Carroll is another one. I haven't had him on the podcast, but we live near each other. We're just friends. I see him at the trade shows. It's like, oh, hey, neighbor. You know what I mean? Like, but it's like, there's something to it. And that becomes you being part of your community, right? Like, if you are friends with a lot of the business owners in your community, or we'll call them influential people, maybe, in your community, but you become an influencer in your community, right? If you're hanging out with everyone at the local bar, and that's where your influence is, right? Like, I think you had a comment there about choosing your friends, right? Like, you can place yourself in a different position for success, and then become the person, the go-to expert for in your area, all through this, and create wins for a lot of people in the community at the same time.
Can I also say that that's not part of my lead generation strategy?
No. Yeah.
Because there's 3 parts of my lead generation strategy for anything that I do, and it's inbound, outbound, and referrals. Now, granted, I'm probably like, the referrals piece is going to come anyway. Like, I'm going to talk, like, I want everyone around me to bring me, obviously, like, to talk about the thing that I'm doing, whether that's running a roofing company or running a conference or running a marketing agency or whatever. But me creating a brand is not part of my lead generation strategy. And I think that a lot of people just think, hey, if I build this brand, we're going to be able to, whatever, sell more roofs, all this stuff. And it's like, yes, that is something that's going to happen, but it's not going to happen your first year or your second year. It's something that you need to be doing either way, because it's part of your long-term strategy. But if you're just thinking of like, man, I'm going to get the cool design and do all these things for building my brand, and that's how I'm going to get new people, it's like, no, you still have to worry about, running ads, and you still have to worry about, everything else, the referrals, running ads, doing outbound, whether that's door knocking or cold calling or whatever. Like, you still have to do all those things.
You still have to do all those things. But that referral aspect builds over time, right? Like how you had mentioned even early on with those real estate agent relationships that you built. even when you shifted focus, the calls were still coming in. Like there are certain things that you do that have an evergreen effect, right? That they continue to produce. It's hunter versus farmer, right? Like are you planting your crops, watering your crops, nurturing your crops, and then harvesting over time? Or are you out there hunting? Like, I'm going out there banging doors, getting a deal today. There has to be a combination of both, or lead gen, running pay-per-click. That would be more of a hunter. Like, I need someone today, more today type of marketing. So you had mentioned early on branding versus lead gen. So that fits into this category, right? You have your branding and then you have your lead gen. So that's when you're thinking of brand, I guess, what are you thinking of? Because brand leads to lead gen in a lot of ways, but it's not lead gen.
Yeah, I think brand is, getting people to know who you are and what you do. Right? So it's part of it, obviously, but it's also a long-term thing, right? So I can think of some of these big brands think about like when you're going and buying shoes, right? Like, hey, if I'm going to go buy a pair of Nikes or Vans or Adidas or whatever, like these people I don't even think about it, right? Like I'm just going and I'm buying it. You as a roofing contractor, as running a conference, as whatever, you don't have that yet, most likely, unless you are some of these big, very well-established companies in your area, right? Which you might be. And in that case, you've done the work of building a brand, right? But for the most part, you're not going to be there. So you could have all the cool designs and all that stuff, but you haven't built that brand. So that's why you need to have, I'll use any of these fit, right? So let's say the outbound piece, the door knocking, right? You're going out, you're finding the people, you're door knocking, you're letting them know, hey, this is who we are, this is what we do, whatever. But yeah, I think the branding piece is when you just become the person without them thinking about it. You just say, hey, I need a new pair of shoes. I'm going to go buy a pair of Vans, Jordans, whatever. And because they've built that brand. And it's the same thing. Like, oh, we just got hit with a hailstorm. Cool. I got to call Cornerstone Construction because I've seen their yellow trucks driving around town for freaking 4 years.
Yep.
So
that it's a big difference, but and you can do a lot with just the getting the cool logo and nice truck wraps and things like that. Like that's a big part of it too. Your yard signs, your swag, all of those types of things that help with that brand. What are some of those things do you think that stand out from when when you're working with Cornerstone or helping do all that type of stuff? What are things that make a brand stand out?
I think definitely being different, right? So we can think of 100 roofing companies that have the same design with the same little roof and they all look the same. So how do you become different from that? I use Cornerstone as the example because I'm here in their building, and their sister brand. So they've got the cool yellow designs, and it stands out when you see the yellow trucks driving around because it's odd, right? And I will say when I started at Cornerstone, I was like, man, I'm gonna have to drive one of these yellow trucks. I was like, this is kind of weird, right? And I've grown to really love it because it just stands out. You become different. What are you doing different? Because if you're not different, then you're just you're just part of the noise is all you are. I think there's a lot of really, really good brands out there. I see them all the time of people that are doing stuff. There's one guy, I think his name is Rocky out in San Antonio. He's got a cool design with like his face on it and stuff like that. So just think of like, So think of how you can be different and not just be a part of the noise, right? But then like the really big thing, here's a really, really, really big part about building a brand is following through, delivering, doing what you say you're going to do, because marketing will only get you so far. branding and marketing will only get you so far. They'll get you the foot in the door, but you will not get a referral unless you follow through and you deliver. And so, again, I'm going to keep everything just translating this into roofing because obviously, like now I'm on the conference side, but I've been on the roofing side. So it's on the roofing side, it's, when something goes wrong, you go to the home and you fix it, right? Or, you show up when you say you're going to show up. You answer the phone calls. You do the little things that matter that homeowners care about. Think about, what does a homeowner really care about when they're dealing with contractors? They care about getting someone who will answer the phone call and someone who's going to do the thing that they need done, who's going to fix the problem, and that they're going to get it done in a timely manner. And if something comes up, that they're going to fix it. That's really like the 4 things that people care about, right? So if you do those 4 things, you've delivered, and that's who they're going to refer people to. The other things, they matter, but they don't really matter, right? They just get you the foot in the door, and you're not going to be able to stay in business for long or continue doing the thing that you're doing if you don't deliver on the things you're going to do. For us at RoofCon, it's putting on an exceptional event, right? Getting great speakers, getting great content, getting, the right vendors, getting the right attendees for the vendors, all these things. Like, we have to do those things because if I don't do that, then people are going to talk about RoofCon sucks or whatever. And it's, obviously, like, we keep getting more attendees year after year. And so I feel like we've done a pretty good job of that. And again, just with roofing, it just goes back to, if you deliver and you do the things you're going to do, that's going to help you build your brand more than just about anything else you can do.
So that is brand also, right? That's what is beyond the logo, right? That's what's beyond your color scheme and your cool wrap trucks and your cool, right? It's that doing what you say you're going to do. I was talking to someone yesterday or the day before, and they're like, maybe I have to do an extra 20 feet of gutters, and, I have to eat $400 on that. But that turns into a conversation for that person to their friends and family about how I went above and beyond to make their job, to get this job done right. Right. Like, that is also brand. I've had, a couple people on the podcast that have talked about that. It's like, that it's more than just the logo, right? It's the things that they do every day. And one of the most common threads that I've found in all 150 conversations or 170 conversations now with roofing contractors is doing the right thing leads to success. It's just over and over and over again in these conversations that I have on the podcast. It's doing the right thing for the homeowner, for the building owner, for doing the right thing. I've heard stories of people who have gone so far above and beyond that things weren't their fault, but they just did it anyway. They took care of the homeowner. They found an issue that the homeowner, wasn't able to deal with, or they blamed it on them for whatever reason, and they just took care of it. And those little things are what bring meaning to the brand, right? They bring that brand to life in the stories created in the community.
Yeah, I think definitely in roofing, most of the time you're dealing with, it's contractors who are having the work subbed out, right? So you're a contractor, you are not actually the roofer that's doing the work. And so what happens with that? A lot of the times there's issues that come up because you weren't the one that installed it, right? And maybe someone else didn't take as much pride in their work as you're taking. So it just comes back to your point, doing the right thing, making sure that you take care of the client. Things are gonna come up too. That's everything that you do. Everything in business is going to you're always going to have things that don't go right. In 2020, I know you were there at RoofCon 2020. the sound sucked. And I stayed late that night. We made sure that we could fix it as much as possible. We apologized to the people. And guess what? Next year, we moved to Orlando. And the first thing that we said was like, we have to find a place that has a theater that's built for the acoustics because, it's one of these things. It's like, okay, I can make sure that, this year may not have gone the way I wanted it to with the sound, but I have to make sure that I do go above and beyond the next year. So we literally found this theater with amazing sound, and we've never had a sound issue ever since. But there's been other things that have popped up, right? Like there's been certain things where maybe we didn't direct, the attendees through the hall enough for the vendors, or maybe we didn't do, we had this expo stage that we've done now twice, and every year it's gotten a little bit better. But last year I was like, we said, nope, we don't want to do it anymore because I don't feel like I'm bringing enough value to the people that are speaking on the stage because it's not full of people or things like that. Like we always find the things that I don't think we're doing right, and we fix them for the next year. And again, it translates into being a roofing company, running a marketing agency, whatever it is. Like those are just little things that just in business in general translate.
Yeah, I like to talk about that in a couple of different ways. The first way I like to say is phase 1, do something. Phase 2, do something a little better than that. Phase 3, do something a little bit better than that. And pretty soon, and you guys are probably experiencing this with RoofCon, you look back at those early years and you're like, my goodness, this was like, why did people even come almost, right? Like we had so many things that, that went wrong or whatever, like, wow. And I talk about that in people creating content. Like you'd mentioned earlier, it's like one video, your early videos, if you don't look back at your early videos and think that they suck, you didn't start fast enough, right? Like you have to do it. The other thing the kind of concept that I like that maybe it'll be helpful to people is I just refer to it as filling the gaps, right? So we find gaps and fill gaps. That's business. So, man, we could improve on X, Y, and Z. We could improve on answering our phones. How are we going to do that? Let's execute on that. Boom. Now we have a great scripting. We know that, we have a backup answering service just in case we can't. Like you put the things in place. Now, oh man, we're having a lot of trouble in the expectations of the homeowners. They seem to be out of alignment. Well, let's work on our sales process. Let's work on our presentation. And then you continue to fill these gaps that you find in your business. And that's kind of, business is hard, right? But I think that's that if you can find joy in filling those gaps and solving problems, that's where things just really, really progress, and you become, you can have a really, really successful business. What else should we chat about, Diego? Or what? I know we got RoofCon coming up here soon. What else is going on,
man? I feel like my life is just consumed with RoofCon at the moment because we're like 70 days out at the time that we're recording this. But I love RoofCon. Big reason why I came back. I just feel like I went to RoofCon last year as an attendee, which was really interesting for me. And I was like, I miss this. And then they started dropping subtle hints to me at the show that they wanted me to come back. And then ended up, like I said, I ended up coming back, and I'm super excited, super glad that I did. I was like, man, I could run a roofing company anytime. And I feel like I've got this opportunity to continue building this brand that I started to build. And I don't know, how much longer, it's one of those things like, do we continue doing this for 10 years, 15 years, whatever that looks like. I just want to take advantage of it. I feel like we're doing a lot of great things in the industry. And, I am not like, you will not see me on a panel at RoofCon. You will not see me on a breakout. I am not that guy. I don't need to be the guy being like, hey, listen to me about this. Cause I just don't have the experience with roofing itself. And I'm not going to be a person like that. But man, I love what we're doing, just connecting the industry. That's something that I'm super passionate about. And I just love, like we've talked about, we've just been talking about building a brand. Like that's what I love. I love figuring out, different lead gen strategies and how to keep pushing our brand of what we're doing. And beyond that, man, like I spend a lot of time with Hunter. I know a lot of people, they'll see him on stage and they'll see, they'll hear a keynote or whatever. I get to spend a lot of one-on-one time with him, and he's going to be a good friend of mine, and I just believe in his mission, and I've seen him do great things at Cornerstone, and I've seen him beyond all the business stuff. Like I've seen him change a lot of lives through Revolt and just pushing leadership and helping other people develop as leaders and all that. And so, man, I'm just bought in and I love what I do. And I'm just excited about all the stuff we got going on, man.
Yeah, man. Love what you do. This has been another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. If you would like to generate more revenue through your digital marketing efforts, please visit roofermarketers.com to get a copy of the book, The Best Known Roofer. Also, check the training section of the website for guides on everything from running effective pay-per-click ads to how to properly set up your Google My Business listing. Thanks for listening.